Hi, everybody. My name is Simone Daniel. Welcome to the Fringe discussion show. Different, wrong night, different, wrong host. I am not Connor O'Brien. This is not a Sunday, but everything is topsy-turvy anyway, so we might as well go for it. The reason that we're doing this special little production tonight is because there's some information that we want to get to you that we don't want to wait until Sunday, because by then it will be like 2 days before the election. Spoilers, this is an election show. Tonight our guest is Judge of Elections, Maggie Obrien. My last guest last time I was on here. Truth be told, we've just pirated this thing. Good luck getting it back, nerds. Yeah, she's going to come on and talk to us a little bit about elections in Lackawanna County, not candidates, but procedures, because she is nonpartisan. Look, I have very strong opinions, but she's here to just give the information. So let's bring her on. I will try to keep my opinions to myself. Please welcome Maggie Obrien. Hi, Maggie.
Hi,
Just Maggie Obrien.
Well, yes, we'll be informal. We'll be informal here today. You don't need to call me Your Honor.
Yeah, we don't stand on formality here.
Technically not until Tuesday. I don't sign my oath until next Tuesday. So
no.
We all take all poll workers take an oath. Yeah. All poll workers, yeah. Yeah. All poll workers take an oath on the day of the election, as official representatives of the election process, where they're working. It's official.
I would love to take an oath. I think that's really cool and exciting, and right. I love people, so I think that's really cool.
Yes, I enjoy oath taking as well, and oath giving. I take an oath, and then I swear in my fellow coworkers that day, the other poll workers with me. So,
oh my God, that's power! Wow!
Yeah, it's yeah. You'd be surprised how how dignified it can be at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, well, it is, because especially now, because there seems to be nothing dignified about elections these days.
Yeah, well, or so they would like you to believe.
Okay, true.
Yeah. So, so I did a little math today. I think I've been volunteering on election day more than 10 years at this rate. I started working for the city of Scranton in 2000, and that's when I kind of started getting into politics, local politics, and navigating that whole world of elections. It wasn't until years later that I did start. Well, I started, when you work for the city, you have election day off, as many people do, as folks do. So I started using that time to support the candidates that I was passionate about or that I worked for. And that led me to learning. So I would be one of the outside people handing out flyers as you walk in, as I'm sure everyone's accustomed to, the folks that are outside handing out nail files and pens and little, pieces of paper.
Those are my favorite people. Those are the only pens I acquire.
Okay, very good. Sometimes we used to hand out sponges. That was a hot item. So those, in many cases, those people are poll watchers or just campaign volunteers. And that's where I started. And then I got my watcher papers. And then when you become a watcher, you are representing a candidate that's on the ballot. You have official papers from them, signed by the judge of the election office, that you can monitor the election activity that day on behalf of that candidate, are working inside to facilitate the voting process. So it was a little over 10 years ago that I started being an official poll worker. I worked at various polls, all in Lackawanna County, where I reside. And I've had all the positions from the clerk. There's a majority inspector, there's a minority inspector, and there's also the judge of elections. The judge is the top of the food chain there on that day. And then their team works for them, again, to ensure that we're, facilitating free and fair elections, and that everyone has an opportunity to vote safely. And I have found from my experience, that's been the most consistent way, an authentic way for me to be able to contribute to, doing my civic duty and feeling like I'm contributing to democracy, because not all the time do we necessarily feel passionate about a candidate. And that's okay. You don't have to love all the candidates all the time, but you should be passionate and protective of democracy as a whole. And, the opportunity for us to vote, and that each American has an opportunity to cast their ballot and have their voice heard, is important to me. So I've taken that responsibility and kind of, and I enjoy it. I do it twice a year. It's 2 days. It is a long day. It's like a 12-hour day. And you do have to pick up the material, pick up your supplies the day before. And then you obviously have a lot of responsibility on that day to oversee the process and make sure, that it is safe and proper and follows all the rules and procedures. But then, you don't have to do it again for another 6 months. So this is a great opportunity to talk through some of the voting scenarios, and take any questions and have a conversation with you about it, because not only do we get to inform others, but it's a great reminder for me to work through these procedures and and discuss any possible scenarios that come up to make sure that everybody's prepared and feels empowered for their voting plan. Right? We want everybody to have a voting plan, and we're here to espouse any possible situations that they might be thinking about with their plan, and we can help them formalize.
Yes, and let me say, if you are watching this and you have any questions, please, like Maggie said, comment, ask away. She's a very good resource. She's someone that I panic text all the time, being like, okay, so now I'm thinking about voting by mail. Do you think that this is safe? And she researches it and lets me know. So now we're at the culmination of all that research. You have a helper right here in front of you. I know you all have helpers calling you every 10 minutes because you probably live in Pennsylvania, and it's been psychological torture, fielding all of the text messages and the calls, and the information is very confusing. But please feel free to log in, ask. We have a comment right here from Ronald Plishka. Hello from DC. We put it on the screen. Hello from DC. Grew up in Scranton. All we want is an honest election, and everyone has the right to vote.
Yes.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, Ronald. 100%.
Yes.
So let's talk about how everybody plans on voting, shall we? Want to talk us through a few different voting scenarios?
Sure.
In the county, what are our options?
Okay.
Okay.
So, so as in putting together your voting plan, everyone should know where it is that they're voting. They should have a polling place that's assigned based on where you live. It's going to be in your neighborhood. It's for ease of access. For those of us that plan on voting in person, like a traditional walk-in voter, the procedure is going to remain very much the same as what you're accustomed to, with with one or two added exceptions in terms of safety requirements. We're asking that everybody wear a mask, first and foremost, while they come to vote. There's going to be a gigantic bottle of hand sanitizer at the end of the table. Make sure that's the first thing you do when you arrive. Put on some hand sanitizer. That way we keep the voting areas sterile as possible throughout the day. Nobody gets sick. And you're going to, state your name to the clerk or individual at the desk that has the book. You're going to sign the book just like you always do. Your name's going to get recorded in the recorded list of voters. You're going to get handed a ballot. You're going to cast your votes. You're going to scan your ballot into the machine. Hopefully you'll be able to get a sticker and move on with your merry way. You can feel safe and secure that your vote has been counted on that day. Right? So that's scenario number one. Typical. We're all accustomed to that. Some fun facts that people sometimes question: you are not required to present identification in Pennsylvania. That is not a law. Voter ID is not required unless the book identifies that you need to present it. So if you are first time voting in that polling place, if you've recently moved, if there's been some sort of change to your voter record, it's possible that the book will identify, please affirm ID. And that's good.
So let's say theoretically, if you were a registered like independent or something, and now you're a registered Democrat and you're voting for the first time as a registered Democrat, would you need ID? Like, is that the sort of change that you would need ID for at your polling place?
That's a great example of a question. I would say if that is the case, I would bring ID with me. I would have some form of identification. And that is, identification is not limited to a driver's license or a state issued ID. There's a variety of identification that can be accepted. It could be a bill at your residence. It's kind of like the old school stuff. It could be a credit card, something to, just be able to demonstrate that you are who you say you are.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that's a great example of why you might be asked. And that will not be because, and it's not because the poll worker is never going to ask you for it unless the book tells them so. So they're responding to a message that they're getting from the election bureau that's requiring you to affirm who you are.
Do you think it's a bad idea for people, if they have ID on them generally, to just like bring it anywhere?
Wearing masks, and we're also going to have plexiglass protecting the people at the books. So many people will appreciate a lot of our poll workers are elderly or differently abled. And in those cases, everybody's going to need all the help that they can get in being able to clearly identify who everyone is. So, if you feel as though you might have a challenging last name, or maybe you're hard to hear through your mask, it could be helpful to bring your ID and present that. But you should know that you're not required to do so.
Okay, great. So the next way to vote is voting by mail. And I've been on Twitter today, first time ever, and everyone's kind of saying, if you haven't already mailed your ballot, do not mail your ballot. Drop it off or surrender it at the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at now on that? How do you think we stand with voting by mail?
So I've done a lot of questioning and research regarding the voting by mail process. As we know, there was a lot of controversy surrounding that. There's been a lot of questioning the validity of it. So as the judge of elections in 17-1, I felt it was my duty to, get to the bottom of the security of that method. And I am confident to say at this point, voting by mail overall 100% is completely safe and totally effective. No one should have any unnecessary fear if that's the method that they need to vote by. If anybody's in a position, especially in our area where we have so many polling places, and we're not traditionally an area where people have to wait to vote or line up to vote, I think, provided you are not immune compromised, or if you feel safe going to a grocery store, if you feel safe running errands, you should feel totally safe voting in person. However, nevertheless, you have the option to. My lights just went out.
Right now, is that mine? Found us.
Right? Oh, not yet. So if you have already, your question was if you haven't sent it in yet. So I did learn, fun fact, you have until Tuesday, November 3rd, election day, to postmark your ballot and mail it in. They will be collecting mail-in ballots for 3 days after election day, so through November 6th, in order for your vote to be counted. I don't recommend it.
Let's try not to do that, everybody. Let's not do that at all. Let's make that the absolute last thing that you possibly will do in this election is send your ballot out on election day. Never do that. Thank you.
I don't recommend it, but it is an option for us still here in Pennsylvania, which is a privilege because there are some states that don't have that option. Right. So we have that option here. We also have the option of dropping off our ballots at the drop box located at the Lackawanna County offices on Wyoming Avenue, formerly the Globe. There's a beautiful drop box there, so you can deliver it personally and drop it off in person at that location. up until election day as well. I'm sure you could drop that off there until the polls close at 8 o'clock on election night. You can drop it off in the drop box.
There are a lot of places you can drop off your ballot, and you can go to this website and find out no matter what county you're in. I think there's like 3 or 4 for Lackawanna County, surrounding county. Yes, there you can go. I went to Clark Summit because they were open the latest. You can drop it in Clark Summit, Dixon, Moosic, and downtown for Lackawanna County. But,
all right.
Yeah. Go here. It'll tell you everywhere, no matter where you live in the United States, where you can drop off your
ballot. Wonderful. Great resource.
They have volunteers there too. They had a volunteer. She was posted. It was raining. She was sitting in her car. She came out, talked us through it, and got back in her car. So they have people there to help you. It was great.
Yes. Yeah. They've been the office, the Lackawanna County Office of Elections has been super on top of all these changes. And there were a lot of election changes, even just from into the primary from last year into this year into May. And then there were COVID changes on top of that. And now there have been even additional changes since May to the voting process. So they've really had to be on top of their stuff, and they're doing a great job. So
they really are. I'm impressed. Well done.
So some interesting caveats of voting by mail that I learned that I'd love to share. So we talked about, so there's the infamous naked ballots, right? Have we heard about those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
See voter suppression.
So hot. So a naked, so I actually have some props here. I have my ballot.
Yay!
This was my mail-in ballot that I received because I had opted to receive this in the primary back in May when, we were still terrified of leaving our houses. And I'm still terrified of leaving the house, but just slightly less so. So, you know what, it was actually time too, because I wasn't quite sure, I should be honest, and I wasn't certain I was going to continue volunteering my service. I wasn't going to, if I was going to continue volunteering at the time when we had to, sign up to do our duty at the polling places. So I had opted to receive a ballot, but I have since gotten over that fear, and now I'm voting in person. However, I still have my ballot, and this is a great reason why, because I'm going to get to demonstrate. So here's your ballot. Everybody checks in who they voted for, completely fill in your ovals successfully, no strays. You want to keep it nice and neat, just like the SATs. And then, yeah.
People say blue or black ink, but I noticed somewhere on the ballot it said black ink.
Oh.
I don't know if that makes a difference, but just to be safe.
I think it does. They give us black pens. I only use the pens they give us. It says you must blacken the oval.
I think it's a little blue thing. Anyway, just to be safe,
use black.
Pen, if you got a black pen, use it. That's all I'm saying.
I have not heard anything to the contrary, but black is.
I'm just looking around every corner for them to ditch my ballot. I'll tell you.
Right. Okay, so once you complete your ballot, once you blacken all your ovals, you place your ballot inside this official election ballot, also known as the secrecy envelope. Everything on secrecy envelope. Then you once you've placed it inside the secrecy envelope, then you place it in this outer envelope that's addressed to the election offices. This is your official election return envelope. You place it in here, you fill out the back, and you drop it off at your drop box or put it in the mail by yesterday. So now, however, if you skipped the step of putting it in the secrecy envelope and you just simply placed your ballot inside this large exterior envelope and mailed it in or dropped it off, you have what is called a naked ballot. Yeah, you don't want that. That's not a good naked. That's a bad naked.
Bad naked.
Bad, yeah. So what's going to happen now? What happens? So when we do drop off our ballots or when we mail in our ballots, a lot of people have commenting like, "Oh, I voted. I got the receipt, the text, or the email that my vote was counted." Technically, that's not true. Your vote hasn't been counted. Your vote has been received. So the ballots are received by the election office, and then they're put in a secure vault, and they are all being held until election day, at which time the election officials were going to open and scan the ballots into machines, much like we do in the polling places on election day. It's going to be very similar to that. Your ballot will be scanned into a machine exactly that same way, and then it will be counted. If anybody's ever voted absentee, you know that, I mean, it's very much the same process. Absentee ballots traditionally are given to the judge of elections when they pick up their polling materials. And then at the end, the last thing we do before we close the polls is we read off the list of absentee voters and scan their ballots, just as if they were essentially voting in person. We're just doing the act of the scanning for them. But because of the quantity of mail-in ballots, which are essentially, again, they're just absentee ballots on a larger scale. Absentee balloting is a process that we've used forever and has never been questioned and has always worked effectively. So very much as though you can have confidence in that process, you can have confidence in the mail-in process. So it won't be until election day that these exterior envelopes are opened and the ballots are removed to be scanned. Now that they're doing this at election headquarters, their process is when they open this large envelope and there's this ballot, they find a naked ballot inside here. It's getting it's being set aside. It does not count.
It's being thrown in the trash. It's not being counted at all.
Correct.
So what do you do if you realize that you sent in a naked ballot already?
That you're naked. You're naked on election day.
Uh-oh.
Okay. You can go to your polling place where it is that you are registered to vote, and you ask to speak to the judge of elections, and you notify them that you know for certain that you casted a naked ballot. You believe that you had casted a naked ballot. At that point, your judge can present you with a provisional ballot. And a provisional ballot is really it's the get out of jail free ballot, as I like to call it. It's what we use in the event that there's any discrepancy or uncertainty as to that citizens' eligibility to vote. And that way you are voting, you are casting a provisional vote on election day. And then you don't sign the book. You don't get listed on the list of recorded voters. You don't receive the traditional ballot with the tear-offs like everybody else does. You don't scan it. It's something that it's a supplemental ballot that we receive with our supplies. You will fill it out by hand, and then you hand it back to the judge. The judge, there's a bunch of paperwork that we have to fill out. It goes into its own secrecy envelope, and then it's sealed with a receipt sticker. You get a receipt, and then I send in the receipts with your ballot. And then in 3 or 4 days, you can call the election office and ask them if your vote was counted. So what they're going to do here in Lackawanna County is when they receive naked ballots, they're going to set them all aside and then wait for the provisional ballots to come in and then cross-check them. Because they've already had people that have called, because there's a lot of people that have already voted. They're going to have people that have called to say, I have this. If you have this in your possession, that's you sent in a naked ballot. So they know that they did it. And now they have that part of their plan is to go to their polling place and cast their ballot, a provisional ballot there. And then the election bureau will cross-reference it with the naked ballots that they have. They will disqualify your original mail-in ballot, and they will accept your provisional. And you get to call and get notification that if that was, how that went.
That's very good information.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that doesn't go around that often. People are like, naked ballot, oops, the end. And because Instagram, social media just hits you with things about naked ballots in Pennsylvania because it happened. And then everyone poured all this money into telling us how to vote. And I was like, okay. But they never follow up with, if you've already screwed up, here's how to fix it. So thank you. Okay. Provisional ballot. Yes. Go request a provisional ballot.
Yes.
In place.
There's a lot of situations you can request a provisional ballot.
Such as?
If you're not in the book. If you come to the polling place and they tell you we don't have your name here, you're not in the book, and you have reason to believe this is where I'm supposed to vote, you can ask for a provisional ballot. If in my case, if someone shows up at my polling place and they're not in the book, I'll call headquarters to find out where is this person registered so I can give them, tell them where they need to go. In a lot of cases, in some neighborhoods, like downtown, there's like 4 or 5 different polling places in a 10-block radius. And sometimes people just don't know, which high-rise they were supposed to go to. So, I'll call and get that information for them so they don't, have to run around looking for it. Then there's also an instance where if you're at your polling place here in Manuka, and you walk in at 7:50, 10 minutes before the polls close to cast your vote, they tell you you're not on the book. We call and find out that your voting place is in Carbondale. You're not going to be able to get there in 10 minutes. You can ask for a provisional ballot and you can vote remotely that way. And again, it's not, while I call it the get out of jail free card, is because, it's not my jurisdiction to determine whether or not your vote counts. It's just to make sure that you have the opportunity to vote. And the provisional ballot gives everybody the opportunity. And then I get to kick the can down the road, and the actual official Bureau of Election employees and staff and, all of those wonderful people, they're the ones that get to make that determination by reviewing the voter rolls, in the subsequent days following the election, to determine if your vote is legitimate.
So if I'm having concerns about mailing in my ballot now and I want to vote in person, is that a provisional ballot, or do I do something else if I want to mail in person but I have a mail-in ballot?
That's a great question. So that's the situation that I'm in, right? So I received the mail-in ballot, but I want to vote in person. So the steps I need to follow is I need to bring my return envelope and my ballot to my polling place, and I surrender it to the judge of elections. Now, because in our polling supplies, we're going to have a comprehensive list of everyone who's registered to vote and everyone who voted by mail. They're going to be in 2 separate lists. If you received your ballot in the mail and you returned your mail-in ballot and it was marked returned, you will not be in the book. You're going to be in a separate section. You're going to be in a separate list, hypothetically like an absentee voter. You're on a separate list. If you received a mail-in ballot like I did and didn't return it, you're still in the book, but it's going to note, ballot sent, mail-in ballot sent. So I have to return it. I surrender it to the judge. It gets placed in the appropriate envelope of supplies. We sign an affidavit, declaring that my original mail-in ballot was surrendered, and then you're issued a fresh ballot there from your polling place, and you get to vote just like we identified in the traditional method.
Great. If someone needs help voting, will there be help for them at their polling place?
Yes. Voter assistance is always available. And I would recommend, if you do require assistance, bring someone. You want to bring someone with you.
That Google assistant that popped up because you said assistance.
Scary.
They're back. They'll never let us have peace.
Oh, finally. Is it the cap at the Capitol? It's the Capitol. Yeah, so as I said, so voter assistance. I would suggest, if you require assistance, whether you're, differently abled, if you have vision impairment, hearing impairment, we do have equipment to assist differently able voters, that they can have, hearing assistance or vision assistance. It's actually this really cool machine that I don't really get a lot of opportunity to use. And I think it's great because it fully empowers that individual to vote on their own, despite their disability. And that's fantastic. However, if you feel more comfortable bringing someone to assist you, you will have to file a declaration of assistance. It's a simple form that we'll need to just fill out together, affirming that you as an individual declare that you require help and that you're not being, coerced into having somebody else manipulate your vote.
And people don't do that before. They do it at the polls. They fill out that form.
Correct. If they haven't already done so. So like
Okay.
the advantage that I have of being the judge in my same polling place for years, repeat times, is that, you only have to file the declaration once. And then ideally the book is going to identify requires assistance. So if the book tells me that the person needs assistance and they have somebody there to help them, they're good to go. If they don't have, in either case, either if you have someone with you or not, someone will be made available. One of the poll workers will be made available to assist you. You don't have to bring someone with you, but in any case, we want it noted in the book that you have this requirement so that, going forward, your opportunity to vote isn't slowed down by paperwork. Or unfortunately, anybody kind of causing any kind of, trying to make things difficult. There is, from time to time, I have had experience with poll watchers in the polling place, questioning, we'll be fair here, questioning the legitimacy or, the process in which people are voting. Similar to, one thing I did learn this year is that we're kind of cracking down on couples. And for anyone that's, voted as a married couple in the past or as a, partners, in many cases you see individuals that come together, even like, mothers and daughters, brothers and sisters, that kind of thing. They'll kind of share the cubby together and commiserate over the ballot together. I mean, you can tell, most often you can tell by body language and, over listening to their conversations that they're just having a shared experience. It's not necessarily, somebody's trying to manipulate what the other person's doing. However, because of just how contested the elections are being right now, and we want to make sure that we're 100% above any kind of reproach, we're asking any couples or partners or twosomes that come in together to vote that each person individually, separately completes their ballot if they are able to do so. Otherwise, we're going to ask you to fill out the voter assistant requirement.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the real sexy question. Besides naked ballots, here's the real question. Oh wait, hang on. We have a question. This is a very good question. This is from George Daniel. I'm not biased. It's just a good question. Please clarify whether people can just show up and poll watch as it seemed to have been suggested by POTUS, or whether there is a formal process to be a poll watcher. Take it away.
Yes, great question, George. There is a formal process. In order to be a poll watcher, you are required to receive what they call watcher papers. You would get them from a candidate that is represented on the ballot. So you would get them, obviously not necessarily from the candidate itself. Joe Biden's not out there signing poll watcher papers, but they have election officials that, they've appointed within their campaigns, probably, from the Democratic Party, from the Republican Party, will have watcher papers. They need to have a raised seal on them and they need to be signed, and it has to identify the ward and the district that they are valid in. So if you are if you're working the polls, or if you are a fellow poll watcher, plan to be a poll watcher, those documents are required in order to review any of the recorded list of voters, or stand around and observe the voting process. Those are requirements, and I will be checking them.
So you can't just show up with a flag and say, I don't know, a hat, and chest press people at the door and say, I'm just here to watch the polls, and intimidate voters. That's not what a poll watcher actually is?
Yeah. Cool. Surprise. No, we don't allow that. No, because that's, what's the word? It would invoke sort of feelings of intimidation.
Voter intimidation.
Yeah, right.
Is that fine, Maggie?
Yeah, voter intimidation's not really something that we like to encourage in this country.
Is it actually a crime?
It is. It
It is.
is in fact a crime. Voter intimidation is a crime punishable by law,
Okay.
as is voter fraud,
Yeah.
and as is any any kind of contamination of the voting process. It's super important to the spirit of our democracy and upholding the Constitution that this process be safe and secure, and these operations are held to a really high standard, because that's essentially what distinguishes us from other less democratic countries that aren't free.
Like 10M.
Exactly. And voter intimidation is something would be a big, yeah, exactly. So,
No, I can't imagine why. It's resonating.
Mhm.
I can't imagine. It comforts me, helps me sleep. So now
yeah,
my big
and I have had this experience in the past. I have had not necessarily voter intimidation, but individuals. I've had to have individuals forcibly removed from my polling places.
So you'll be forcibly removed if you're intimidating voters. Basically.
Absolutely. Oh, I will call the sheriffs in a heartbeat, and they will be thrilled to come and remove you. I'm sure. I had the honor of having a local trucking magnate removed from my polling place a couple of years ago.
Oh, you don't? I wonder who that could be.
He's from this area. He really likes trucks. He likes putting signs on his trucks, and
does he love the president as well?
He's incredibly yes. He's very supportive of the president.
Does he fancy himself a rabble rouser?
He's a real muckraker.
Can't imagine who that could be. Go on.
And he's not related to anyone we know.
He's not. Go on.
But yeah, so that was fun. I got to have him removed. So yeah, anybody that's lurking unnecessarily around my polling place will be forcibly removed as swiftly and quickly as possible. And again, I encourage. I have one day. I have a 12. My oath is only good for 12 hours, 2 days a year.
And obviously, she's getting all the mileage. She made that banner herself, folks. She's gonna enjoy every second of it. So don't.
Right. I try to gain at least 20 pounds before every election day, just so I can throw it around.
Yeah. I like the dissent collar that you're wearing.
I know. Yeah, this is good. I might wear. I don't know if this would be considered partisan or not. I don't know if I can wear this.
It's just a necklace, folks.
It is my necklace.
It's just your necklace.
And surprisingly, not the only one I have.
Yeah, you seem like a real big necklace kind of gal. Before we evolve into this, which we always do, let's talk about, like I said, the sexiest question of the night, the question on everybody's mind. When will we know who won?
Well, it is the word on the street, in the in these social circles of elected
echelons of the higher echelons,
the upper echelons of Lackawanna County elections.
Mm-hmm.
It is likely to take 1 week to fully count all. Well, now listen, hear me out. It's going to take 1 week to fully count all the ballots in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Now, that's not necessarily incredibly different than most any time. Because people are always voting provisionally. Local contests are local races are often contested. Different candidates ask for recounts. Periodically. It's a thing that happens. Election day is not results day. It's the day we vote. It's not always the day that we get the results. However, because of the presidential election and the electoral college, in many cases on election nights of presidential elections, when they declare winners, they're really just playing odds. Based on the level of votes that have come in, they are able to give states, states are able to determine based on this is how many votes we counted, this is how many we have left. Statistically, like, you can never catch up. So it really depends on the how many people show up to vote. And this is supposed to be like a record-breaking year in terms of voter turnout. So, it's really anybody's guess. Is it, and because we have this added challenge of, the president not committing to a peaceful transition of power, regardless of what the results tell us on Tuesday night, he's already made it clear he's not going down without a fight. So, all of those, so each, everything's going to have to be incredibly, all the I's are going to have to be dotted, all the T's are going to have to be crossed, and every single vote will be counted in real time. And, and maybe only then will we accept, will they accept the results? Who's to know?
So is it unethical of me to ask you, like, if you have to guess, like, when we would have a pretty good idea of, like, the results in Pennsylvania? Like, what is the earliest you think we could, like, make an accurate guess?
I'm going to say based on the amounts of votes by mail and how long it takes them to scan all the ballots, depending on how many they get, they could potentially not even scan them all on Tuesday. So I'm going to say Wednesday night.
Okay, good. So I'll be drunk for 48 hours. Okay.
Yes. Well, that's right. Are we just going to go to? Isn't our plan to just
sleep?
Just take an Ambien and go to sleep for a couple days.
Just wait it out. Wake up. Find out my house is on fire. It's great.
Yeah, and again, and I say that, and I make that prediction with not in my capacity as the judge, just purely as
her highest honor. Yeah.
Just purely as
you've been doing this 10 years. You're a lot more qualified than Amy Coney Barrett by all estimation. So technically, you're a Supreme Court judge. I'm sorry. I will keep my votes to myself. I'm sorry. I forgot. I was going to keep my opinions.
That's okay. You're fine.
I'm sorry.
I don't take my oath until Tuesday morning.
So this is just Halloween-y.
Right.
We're just making a Halloween here. Okay.
Yes. We're just making predictions. And then I've heard from, different news sources, if Texas whatever Texas does is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, as soon as they call Texas,
it's over.
It's over.
If a certain direction, it's over.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. If Texas goes blue, it's over.
Doesn't matter. And then it didn't come down to us, and that would be such a nice relief.
Yeah. Do you want it to come down to Pennsylvania? Do you want Pennsylvania?
No.
To be no.
No, because I'm still mad at Florida for 2000, and I was a baby. So I don't need that. I don't need that.
Right. I think. Everybody wants to win the home. You want to win your home team. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to win Pennsylvania, but I don't want it to be about us. I don't want it to be like Luzerne County decided the election. Like, I don't want that to happen.
No, because that won't be good.
Opinions. Home team.
Home team. Yeah. I would say, yeah. Yeah, it's a real, it's really going to come down to the wire. It's hard to say. Everybody's got to go out and vote. Let's hope everyone
for the one person in the back, because we have 4 people listening to this.
We got 4 people, and there's 4 letters. VOTE, vote.
Everyone take one, paint a line chest, run around the block.
There you go.
Vote. So that's all, unless we want to get into our deep analysis of the districting of Pan Am. We should call this.
Right, and how it compares to our lives today, our modern day.
Yeah. For those of
we
you
are District 12.
We are, well, no, I've done a lot of research lately. We're District 13. Yeah, we're borderline District 12, District 13. The District 12 is probably, hey, Tim O'Malley's going to take letter O.
Of course, Tim. Oh, Timo. Tim.
That's the kind of spirit we love here in District 13.
So what, we're nuclear weapons and
yeah, we're nuclear, we're like nuclear power. We're
survivors then.
Would be us. It would be like New Jersey, New York. And now I will say what?
I thought the Northeast was 12. I thought Appalachia was 12. I thought that was like
it is. So it's like Virginia, West Virginia, that's 12. A lot of the country's underwater on a map of Panem. This is not what Connor gave us the login for, but this is what we're doing.
That's okay.
I'll tell you. Oh, we have a comment making themselves known. Join us Thursday. He's telling us to wrap it up. Join us Thursday night for Pissy Miles live drag show. Oh my God, that's going to be so much fun. Wow.
That'll be, Pissy's great.
Yeah, I've been off Facebook, so this is really good information.
I adore drag queens. What a gift.
Me too. Especially Miles, who is...
How do I get them to come work the pool? That would be great. Wouldn't that be wonderful to have a bunch of drag queens there when you came to vote?
Yes. Now I'll never vote without them again. God, that would be fun.
That would be fun.
That'd be really fun.
I'd enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I encourage anybody, if anybody at any point, any one of the four of you ever or more should have any interest in getting involved and helping secure and save democracy, you can call your local Board of Elections office and tell them you want to work the polls and, learn how you can do it yourself.
That's a really great thing to do, says the girl who hasn't done it. Because a lot of the poll workers are older women. Like, I've had the same poll workers my whole entire life. And wouldn't it be nice if there were people to relieve that burden? And, they love doing it and they take it very seriously. And I love seeing them there, especially the lady with the long nails in my polling place. Love her. Icon. But we need to start showing up for these things. And I will next time. But we need to start showing up for these things.
Right. And that's a big, that was a big motivation for me starting to do it when I did it as a young, I was a young woman, I was a young mother, and I noticed that, everyone involved with local politics was old and, mostly men, on one side. Yeah. Surprise. Not much, clearly not at all like today. But, if you want to be the change, young people have got to step up and start getting involved. And I know it's frustrating when they feel that they don't have any representation, but, working your election days, getting to know the voters in your neighborhood, learning the mechanism of democracy, how it works, how you can contribute. Volunteering on election day is a great opportunity. And you do get paid. We get a stipend. Not a lot, but you do get, an exchange for your time. It's a lot of great information. And you really get to know your neighbors. And, sometimes they give us free donuts. So what more do you want? I want
what Elizabeth Bohan's trying to sell here. The future is female. And donuts. The future is donuts. Where the whole of America is just one big red lit up hot donut neon sign from Krispy Kreme.
Yes,
every
delicious.
Rivers run with Krispy Kreme donuts.
Hot donuts.
Fresh out the fryer. I'll tell you what, if things go the way I want them to, I will personally deliver a box of donuts.
All right.
And also the tapestry I ordered you.
Oh, okay.
So here we go.
Coming to me.
Yep. Thanks, Liz. Thanks to everybody who commented. Thanks for everybody who watched. Do you have anything else to say, Maggie, or are we good?
I'm so good, everybody. I feel that this is just another addition to me, contributing to us doing our civic duty, contributing to democracy. I'm so glad I got to share this information. I'm glad I'm imprinting it in my brain because next Tuesday, game on.
Game on.
And,
it feels good to help. It does feel good to help. Anytime I volunteer, I feel much better about everything. So if you are having any sort of anxiety and you don't really know where to put it into action, put it into helping, put it into volunteering, put it into civil discourse, put it into spreading information that is true and factual and helpful to people. We have 1 week left. So just fight like hell and do everything that you can at any opportunity, even if it's hosting a show with your friend and having a really nice time on Facebook. Sometimes it can be fun. But do everything you can, please. And thank you. Especially vote. Especially vote. They're going to get us. All right, everybody.
thank you.
Night. See you on Thursday for this awesome event. Have fun. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.